I'm Ben. I'm going to be reading from the Lovey-Dovey Danger Manual, a book about overcoming misbelief. It's the story of Harry Cosgrove, a lonely London solicitor who tries to rewrite a self-help manual to prove feelings are dangerous when the artist who had an affair with his mum returns after 24 years abroad. This scene is from the start of the book. Harry's just home from work, had dinner, when the door buzzer goes. Two short bursts on the buzzer. Whoever it was had changed their technique. Before I opened the door, I remembered to check the peephole. An elderly man in a felt hat with a wide brim. The hat seemed a bit extravagant, so that ruled out the council, and his coat was too smart for him to be an ex-prisoner selling cleaning sponges. I wondered if it was some kind of street collection for charity. He had a piece of paper in his hand. It was probably a flyer telling me to sponsor his daughter doing hopscotch for the orphans in Kathmandu. When I opened the door, he smiled at me, waiting for me to speak, which seemed the wrong order of things. Yes? I kept my hand on the door in case I needed to slam it shut. I made sure to position my legs carefully to one side. I didn't want to rip my suit trousers. It's me. The brim of the felt hat cast a shadow over his eyes. He was wearing little round spectacles and had a wispy beard that was kept the same width of his bushy moustache like a horse stirrup. I studied his neck and saw his shirt collar was faded and worn. There was a faint smell of lavender about him. "Spare any arms, sir?" He scooped the hat off his head and held it out to me like a bowl. He grinned, like I was the sort of person he used to joke with in the past. "Forgive me, I couldn't remember the trains." He was probably a friend of the previous owners and assumed I was one of their grown-up children. The wife was an interior designer. Who else would paint a hallway that colour blue? She must have had a lot of arty friends, I thought, the sorts so muddled up with ideas of beauty and perspective that taking trains was a challenge. "I'm afraid the Barwick Joneses have moved. I can give you their address." I tried to study my visitor's hands. Was that paint at the edge of his nails? He looked confused. "No, Harry boy, don't you recognise me? I suppose I've aged." He smiled and scratched his beard with his mouth open. There was a gold ring on his little finger, the sort with a flat surface for a carved design. Then something did come to me. My skin turned cold as if it started raining again. I knew what was carved on that ring. It was the Long Man of Wilmington, that ancient figure cut into the chalk of a Sussex hill not far from where my mum lived. She had given him the ring. "It's me, Tim." He reached forwards as if I might want to hug him. I grimaced and held on to the door. I decided to concentrate on the details. I knew that ring's lopsided weight. I had tried it on as a boy. He let me, the gold man slipping around my skinny fingers. There was an inscription inside the band. What was it? Something cryptic. "Belonging is a wonderful thing." "Aren't you going to invite me in?" "If I'd known you were coming, I wouldn't have opened the door." He just smiled and "Isn't it wonderful to be alive?" smiled and said, "That is the power of surprises." At that time, I was suspicious of surprises. If I could get through a day with everything going exactly as I imagined it, I would collapse into bed with a deep sense of relief. "Why are you here?" "I finished the painting, Harry boy." What a stupid thing for him to tell me. He was a painter. He probably finished a painting every week, every day for all I knew. "It's taken 24 years. Clara Cosgrove and her children." He started coughing, bending over and putting his hands on his thighs. Even in that coat, I could see his shoulders heave. I remembered to only breathe through my nose. I could have said something rude, but I didn't. I remained in control. It came back to me, the memory of having to stand still for hours in the beach spinney as he sketched with charcoal, then painted on the outlines and started layering on the colour. All this being forced to smile for hours reminds me of my wedding photographs, my mum had said. I couldn't remember what Tim said to that. I was sure he wouldn't want to think of her being happy on her wedding day. How my cheeks hurt, my mum added. Perhaps you weren't used to smiling, Tim asked as he dipped his brush in the paint. Timothy, don't be naughty. Naughtiness is underrated. Isn't that so, Harry boy? He winked at me. Stop. Mind over matter. I was determined these thoughts had to stop. Why have you come here? I thought you might want to see it. I want you to be at the opening of my exhibition. It's my first in 12 years. But you can't just show up here. You're not part of my life. Harry boy, we used to spend so much time together. I want to go back to that. I miss you. You cannot just turn back the clock. Didn't he remember? Didn't he know the accident was all his fault? I had to control myself. I refused to get angry. Anger was a weakness. Feelings were dangerous. The door slammed with a satisfying thud. I fastened the security bolt, which took 2 attempts because my hands were shaking. I clicked the Yale lock to locked and leant against the wall for support. The letterbox opened. I understand, Harry boy. You must be full of so many emotions. It's important to let them out. That's what I've learned. I know this amazing woman in Livorno. It took me years before I went. I was in a dark place, Harry boy. I had to learn to let my emotions speak. I had to listen to them, to work with them. Go away. I'll see you at the opening then. Go. There was a scuffling noise, and the piece of paper came through the letterbox. It wasn't a flyer for orphans in Kathmandu. It was an exhibition advert. Thanks.